You know, it's common for musicians to release politically charged songs these days, but you've probably never heard one quite like this before.
What's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's KB and we locked in. Now let's jump into it. Today, we're going to be speaking about a Canadian rapper named Tom Macdonald. We're going to talk about where he came from, how he blew up, and what makes him so controversial.
There's this performative wokeness that's going on in society today, and I think it was just important to point some fingers at the hypocrisy and the way that the world is changing, not for the better.
Tom Macdonald, real name Thomas Macdonald, was born on September 21st, 1988 in a small Canadian town named Mission, which is part of British Columbia, right outside of Vancouver. Unlike many of the rappers that are popular these days, Tom didn't grow up impoverished or with parents that were at odds with each other. Instead, Tom would spend the first 13 years of his life in the suburban town of Mission with a loving family and everything he needed. So it's easy to say that Tom had a regular childhood. Still, despite not being from the hood, Tom would fall in love with rap music. To be clear though, Tom didn't want to be a rapper growing up. He just found a love for the genre after his dad took him to a pawn shop, gave him $5, and told him he could buy anything he wanted. After searching around for an item, Tom would stumble across a Tupac CD, All Eyes on Me, which he would use the $5 to buy. After popping it into his portable CD player, Tom began to fall in love with the genre that would eventually change his life. Tom was aware of the disconnect Tupac's music had with his own life, but still jammed it anyways. Tom said he would write poems with the hip-hop style cadence to help bridge the gap between his life and the music he was listening to, but still had no intentions of becoming a rapper. When Tom was 13 years old, him and his family would leave the small town of Mission and relocate to Edmonton, Alberta. This is where Tom and his family would first start experiencing some form of hardship, as Tom's dad would struggle to hold down a job. As a result, Tom would see himself attending almost a dozen different schools over the next 6 years, but don't be confused. Tom and his family were still close and they were still making it. Just because his dad didn't hold down a single job doesn't mean he wasn't making money. Tom's dad was a hustler of sorts, a jack of all trades, getting paid for multiple odd jobs like carpentry, factory work, and he even worked in a scrapyard at one point. The whole time Tom was growing up, his parents were always supportive, no matter what Tom wanted to do.
I have a really supportive family, and everybody's always in my corner. And they support me pretty wholeheartedly no matter what I choose to do, and I'm super duper fortunate. And I hate the word blessed, #blessed, but I am super fortunate and super blessed to have a family that is always in my corner, and they're always watching my back, and they're always supporting me no matter what. I think that's the greatest advantage that I have in life, is that I have a family that really gives a shit and loves me, and is really cool with everything that I want to do. It's weird, like, I'm the total black sheep of my family. Like, I'm the only guy with face tattoos and crazy hair, and for sure, and they all still love me and support me and hold me down and encourage me. I hope most of your guys' families would do the same for you, man. It's such an amazing support system to be able to lean on in life.
In a way, Tom's parents were really cultivating him in a way that would allow him to be successful in life, no matter what. The small struggles they experienced would end when Tom's dad landed a job as a dispute resolution specialist negotiating contracts in Fort McMurray. Fort McMurray is a luxurious area of Canada that has contributed significantly to the Canadian petroleum industry, so landing a job here meant bringing in some fresh hundreds every week for the family. Tom's mom also contributed to the family's lifestyle, working as a teller for the Bank of Montreal. Just like Tom's dad, Tom's mom was kind of a hustler, eventually working her way into a branch manager position with the bank. Growing up, Tom had an obsession with wrestling and was fascinated by Stone Cold Steve Austin, basically idolizing him, which would play a significant role in Tom's life. In fact, when Tom was just 14 years old, he would talk his parents into signing him up for wrestling training, which, being supportive parents, they did. Tom would train tirelessly for the next 24 weeks before booking his first ever wrestling match. Tom would use this moment to grind hard, eventually landing a spot on a TV show called Canadian Wrestling Legends that aired every 2 weeks. Due to the hectic scheduling of his wrestling matches, Tom would have to stop attending regular high school, instead opting for a program that allowed him to work at his own pace. It was around this time that one of Tom's closest friends would introduce Tom to a new rapper that would be far more relatable to Tom than Tupac was. The artist he was introduced to was Eminem. Tom would see himself in Eminem, and it was around this time that Tom would start to write his first raps, but still, it was a back burner idea, as Tom still had a dream of becoming a wrestler, and it seemed to be working. A lot of people have tried to dispute the fact that Tom Macdonald was ever a pro wrestler, but I have been able to confirm over 63 legitimate matches that Tom was involved in. Looking at his show history, it looks like Tom Macdonald participated in as many as 13 matches in 1 month alone, all the way back in 2005. That's like a match every 2 days during 1 month. But as time went on, Tom's statistics would start to go down from an over 60% win rate down to a 0% win rate when he stopped in 2009. Unfortunately, it seemed like Tom's dream of becoming a world-renowned wrestler were over, and so were the days of his pampered childhood. But Tom's parents built him to be resilient, and that is what he would prove to be over the next few years. Tom would move from wrestling to doing odd jobs like carpentry, just like his father, and he even worked in the oil fields for a while, but the work was unsatisfying and unfulfilling. Since Tom was a kid, his parents had supported his every move, allowing him to believe that he would be able to do something great in life, and the desire to do something that impacted people, mixed with the inability to do so, just wasn't a good mix. Perhaps it was the mundaneness of his life, but Tom would start to struggle with the reality of his broken dreams and would also develop depression and anxiety. It was at this point in his life that he needed a new calling, something he could be great at, and he turned his blind ambitions towards music and pulled the trigger. He would buy some small-time studio equipment and make an attempt at music. Again though, he wasn't set on making hip-hop music. Instead, Tom was making rock music, learning to play the guitar, trying to train his vocals to sound like the superstars, and working on his song structures, but it wouldn't take long for Tom to realize his vocal talents just wasn't what he needed them to be, and his dream of being a rock star would start to die as well. However, Tom had been writing poetry since way back and even started secretly writing raps when he was wrestling and while he was recording his rock music. With no other path paid for him, at 19 years old, Tom decided he would officially give the rap game a try. He recorded a multitude of songs that he says were all horrible. See, Tom had been writing raps about regular topics like jewelry, money, clothes, females, and so on, but it didn't feel authentic to him since that's not the life he was raised in, and that sense of no self would lead him deeper into depression, deeper into the drugs, and deeper into alcoholism. One day, Tom seen an advertisement for a rap show that was gonna go down in Alberta, Canada, and the advertisement had an email listed on it. Tom would send an email over to the promoter asking if he could perform at the show. Tom was really taking a chance here, as he had never performed publicly, but was in need of something to work out in his life. He would get an email back asking for him to send over a demo, which he did, and to his astonishment, he was told he could perform. Before the day of the show, he would get another email from the person throwing the show asking if he could help pass out flyers and help promote it, to which he said yes. He would show up and meet the person who was throwing the show and arguably the person that is behind Tom Macdonald's success, Nova Rockefeller. Nova and Tom would go on to enjoy the night. Nova was happy because she managed to sell out the show, which we now know was her first time throwing one, and Tom was happy because he got to perform for a sold-out crowd. From there, The two would become good friends, and Tom would have someone on his side that would always have his back, just like his parents did growing up. Nova and Tom's relationship would last several years before the two decided that they were going to move to the next step and become more than just friends. But before the two would become the dynamic duo the world knows them as, Tom would have a few more years of struggling. Tom was still living in Canada, but Canada never really felt like home for him. He just didn't fit in. Plus, the music scene in Canada is really hard to break into. The infrastructure for the music industry really just isn't that strong in Canada, and Tom knew this. So he would start making frequent trips across the border, entering into the United States, and going to California to record and push his music. After numerous trips, the border started to become suspicious of Tom's travels, and every time he would try to come over to the United States, he would end up getting delayed for hours on end while being questioned about his travels. Eventually, Tom would grow tired of the constant questioning, delays, and headaches. Since Canada never really felt like home and he seemed to be making more and more frequent trips to America, Tom just went ahead and applied for an artist visa with the intention of moving to America. The visa was eventually granted, giving Tom clearance to not only visit America, but also to be able to make money over here. But when he got to California, he found out that everything that glitters ain't gold. And while living life as a struggling artist in America, Tom would have a serious mental health breakdown. Tom was partying, drinking, smoking weed, and living life as if it was already over. Tom was laying in bed one night after years of partying and bad decision making when he started to feel a little nauseous. Tom would get out of bed, and when he did, he said he felt like the room was spinning with each step he took. Tom could feel his heart rate increasing, his vision would start to become blurry, and in a panic, Tom would pull out his phone and call 911 because he knew something wasn't right. But as soon as he hit the call button, he would fall over on the ground and become unresponsive. Basically, Tom's body was shutting down on him. Tom would recover, but immediately after the incident, Tom would have a mental break. When the breakdown happened for Tom, he said that he wouldn't speak to anybody and would just stare off into space and was just in general unaware of the world around him. When he tried to eat, he was unable to. Insomnia started to set in and sleep became non-existent. He was experiencing extreme anxiety to the point that it even caused paranoia. And Tom, well, he was ready to punch his own time card and clock himself out.
And then what ended up happening was I had a really lengthy battle with alcoholism, which led to having a catastrophic sort of mental unraveling like 3.5 years ago. And I spent 9 months trying to figure out what was wrong with me and getting prescribed all types of different pills and reading and researching and meditating and trying to put myself back together. Sort of what ended up happening was I spent 9 months in like the darkest place that I've ever been in my life. When you spend 9 months in such an acute state of unwellness, you really get to know like what you're made of. You really figure it out. When you spend 24 hours a day for the better part of a year contemplating if you're gonna wake up tomorrow or not, you learn a lot about yourself.
It got so bad, his family ended up sending one of Tom's old friends to California. When the friend got there, he broke into Tom's house and packed all of Tom's stuff before literally wrestling Tom and shoving him into a cab where they would then go to the airport and fly back to Canada. Tom's parents allowed him to take refuge in his childhood home. He would recover and said that he really knew at this point that he had to change his way of living and knew that he could never go back to living the way he used to, but he would eventually pack his things and head right back to America. Tom would end up living with his friend and the first person that really gave Tom an opportunity back in the day, Nova. Nova and Tom's relationship would start to develop into more than just a friendship, and the two of them would find themselves dating. Nova had previously had a recording contract with Mercury Records, which later became Island Records, also known as Def Jam. So the love for music was always instilled in both of them. But while Tom was fighting his own demons, so was Nova. She had been dropped from her label, which she only found out about when her landlord told her the label wasn't paying her rent anymore, and Nova was in pretty much the same financial position as Tom. Nova and Tom will move in together, renting a small house in the middle of South Central. South Central is a notoriously dangerous area in Los Angeles that is impacted by drugs, gangs, and extreme poverty. South Central is the trenches for real. Tom has described the living situation, stating that there were rats in the walls, roaches crawling on the dishes, and that they didn't even have money for food. Tom says that the 9 months he was living in South Central was hell, and said that he was at the end of his rope. He had no money for food and had only a half a cigarette to his name when he decided to go out on the front steps of his porch in South Central with a notepad, light the half a cigarette, and write a song. The song was titled Dear Rapper. After writing the song, Tom went back in the house and told Nova that he thought he had wrote the song that would change their life. He asked her to set up the video lights and camera they owned while he went into the room to record. When the record was finished, Nova and Tom shot a music video for the song, and Nova began editing it. At the time, Tom had no traction with his music, but was determined to get noticed. He had released 3 albums prior to the song, one titled Leanne's Son in 2014, another titled Dream People and the Whiskey Wars in 2015, and another titled See You Tomorrow in 2015, and none had made the impact that these next few singles and albums would make. While Nova was editing the video for Dear Rappers, Tom would reach out to his mom, sister, friends, and even a stranger who described himself as an investor on the internet and borrowed about $1,100 collectively from them. Tom took the $1,100 and ran ads on his song, and within the first 2 days, it had reached 1.1 million views on YouTube. The song would generate a lot of attention, but not necessarily good attention. On the song Dear Rappers, Tom would address rappers who talk about negative content like drug use and murder, and basically just give his opinion on it. The world would view this song as Tom Macdonald targeting black artists who rap about this stuff, but Tom claims that's just information being bent by the media, and then he wasn't talking about black rappers. He said he was talking about rappers of a certain content, not of a certain color.
So Dear Rappers goes off, does really well. And there's hundreds of thousands of people showing up at this point in time, and I don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. Yeah. So Dear Rappers, and it was just like criticizing the status quo of hip-hop and the message in hip-hop and the effect that it has on the youth, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden there's like 50,000 people like on my Facebook and my Twitter all calling me down saying that like, you wrote these 2 songs criticizing black rappers, you're a racist, like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yo, I'm not criticizing rappers of a particular color. I'm criticizing rappers of a particular content. And you've taken that way out of context, so you have something to be angry about on the internet. Now there's all these people calling me a racist and blah, 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 blah. And being the only white boy in that neighborhood and hearing all of this stuff that people are saying on the internet, again, was just like this perfect mixture of angst and anger and just feelings that I was having, and I just put all that into a record.
Even with the backlash, Tom would quickly follow that single up only 3 months later with a song titled Castles. Castles would perform decently, but it just didn't see the same response as Dear Rappers did, and that may be because of the approach he took to the song. The song has meaningful lyrics and describes everyone's internal battles, and there was no controversy involved. Because of the lack of response to Castles, Tom would only wait 1 more month, and then he would drop a song titled Hell of It. In this song, Tom would reestablish his view on rappers that promote negative content. And as expected, this song would create a controversy online, and in the process, would send Tom's streams through the roof. Tom would capitalize on the buzz by dropping another song titled White Boy. This is by far the moment where Tom was introduced to a mainstream audience. The song would first go viral on Facebook, but eventually went viral on all platforms in less than a week. On the song, Tom would take his now signature controversial stance on politics and racial history. The song was viewed by most as a highly offensive song, but Tom knew exactly what he was doing. He had that small taste of clout from his song Dear Rappers, and he wanted to taste it again. He had always wanted to make an impact, and this was the formula that would change his life forever and allow him to do that. Before dropping White Boy, Tom invited people from around the South Central neighborhood into his home to listen to the song and give feedback. He wanted to check the record's temperature with the people it might offend most. Tom says that the people in the hood listened to it and gave the thumbs up, so he released it. Over the next year, Tom would drop a string of music videos and spoken word videos, which eventually led to the release of his first post-fame album, aptly titled Death Threats. This album would take Tom to the next level. It didn't chart at the time of release, but Tom would show the world how devoted he was by signing each and every copy of the album by hand. He recorded videos to let the world know they would all be receiving individually signed CDs, and the fans loved it. Tom would continue to stoke the fire of controversy by dropping a song titled Politically Incorrect. This song would also fail to chart, but as the songs kept releasing, the numbers just kept growing. With the success of his recent releases, Tom could feel the pressure building, but instead of folding, he would drop another song, this time taking shots at the people who seemed to have a problem with his lyrical content. The song was titled Everybody Hates Me. In the video, Tom makes an appearance in pink leggings, a bulletproof vest, and a red ski mask. It was at this point that I think Tom realized the best way to respond to the internet was with a meme, and that is what he would accomplish with this video. Tom knew being as ridiculous as possible would only help to build his profile, and to everyone's surprise, the next song Tom dropped wasn't taking aim at anyone. Instead, it was a very introspective look into Tom's life. The song was titled I Wish, and Tom would use the moment to collaborate with his newly found fans, starting the I Wish challenge, where he asked his fans to write down things they wished, pose with it on camera, and send him the video. The idea received a lot of praise from his ever-growing fan base, and that would successfully capture the minds of even more people with the release of this song. With an even bigger audience than ever, Tom released a song titled Straight White Male, where again, just like in White Boy, he gives some perspective on what it's like to be a white guy in the modern day society. Like clockwork, the track would attract outrage from critics, but even more curiously, at this point, there was a notable shift in Tom's fan base. The comment sections began to fill up with as much support as it did hate, and it seemed Tom's message was resonating with a ton of other white guys just like him. Around this time, an internet personality and YouTube rapper named Mac Lethal would send out a tweet that read, "This white dude who raps about how white dudes are super oppressed is garbage. I don't know his name, I'm not gonna learn it. His bars are fucking awful and he could shove his entire low-rent aesthetic up his ass." Tom would find the tweet and without hesitation would reply with, "You spell I haven't been relevant in years and I'm super fucking jealous? Wrong, bro. I've sold out your city twice. Maybe you can open next time," referring to his tour dates. Tom would then post this tweet to Facebook asking his fans if he should drop a diss song. Mac Lethal would try to walk back his comments, but the very next day, Tom would upload a video to his channel titled Lethal Injection, where he would take shots at the YouTube rapper, pointing out Mac's prior drug addiction and infidelities. Mac would take a few days to respond, but after 4 days, he would upload his own response titled Single White Female. At the time, Mac Lethal had more subscribers than Tom and arguably was the bigger personality of the two. So the response only served to open the door for Tom to grab some of Mac's fans. While Mac thought he was dominating the beef, Tom was in the background waiting. 2 days after Mac Lethal dropped his diss song, Tom dropped another song titled Mac Lethal Sucks. Tom would rap for about 4 minutes straight, ripping into Mac lethal, and Mac wouldn't respond after this diss. But in the end, it was a win for both artists, and it was pretty entertaining to watch. This wouldn't be the peak of the controversy mountain for Tom though. From here, he would go on to drop a song titled "If I Was Black," where he would superimpose his face onto the body of a black man, and he recited lyrics like, "If I was black, I probably wouldn't fuck with anyone who's white because that slavery shit would honestly always be on my mind." And the message had a mixed reaction. At this point, Tom already had built a pretty diehard fan base that was supporting his career. The opposing side accused Tom of being racist for speaking about black issues when he didn't grow up in that type of environment. They were pushing the narrative that he couldn't possibly understand the problems of black people in America, being that he is a white man from Canada. But Tom would push through the backlash, proving again how resilient he can be. He would drop another string of records addressing the issues and even making a rock song called Ashes in the process, but practically avoided the controversy along the way. But it wouldn't be long, and Tom would be right back at it with his old shenanigans. He would drop a song titled "Clone Rappers," where he would push the conspiracy that several popular rappers had been cloned and that the industry was using these clones to control people and push narratives. And this was in 2019, when cancel culture was really weighing in on the conspiracy crowd. So as usual, it created some backlash. The whole time this is happening, Tom's numbers, they just continue to rise at an astronomical rate. In 2020, when the world was going into lockdown, Tom would continue to drop controversial songs centered around politics, conspiracy theories, and race. Songs like "No Lives Matter," "People So Stupid," this one that I won't name because of YouTube, and "White Trash." But in 2021, he would drop a video for a song titled "Fake Woke." In the song, he would use a popular tagline often said by right-wing talk show host Ben Shapiro, "Facts don't care about feelings." And the general public would view this as Tom taking a side on the political spectrum, and Tom would just let the world think what it wanted. Tom would use the buzz from all of his controversies to make a collab album with his longtime friend and fellow artist Brandon Hart, and Nova was even on a few of the records. Tom's next move, though, would show the world exactly how much influence he had accumulated over the last 2 years when he purchased an Eminem beat that was being sold as an NFT for $100,000. Tom would take the beat and write a song called "Dear Slim." In the song, Tom would take the role of Stan and write a letter to M. He was paying homage and acknowledging the differences between him and Eminem, and that would gain the respect of a lot of M fans, again boosting his numbers even higher. Tom would go right back to his controversial topics, covering more politics and conspiracies and race with songs like "Snowflakes," "America," "Brainwashed," "New World Order," and "White Boys." It seems that Tom has really found the lane that he thrives in the most and doesn't really seem to mind the controversy around his name. During the recording and release of all of these records, Tom would go on several small tours, selling out shows the whole way, and over the last 3 years, he has built a fan base that is massive. As of this recording, Tom Macdonald has over 2.5 million YouTube subscribers and 1.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and we're not taking into account any of the physical CDs that he sold or any of the other streaming platforms like Tidal, Apple, and Pandora that he's collecting money from. I actually want to take a moment and dig deeper into the numbers behind Tom Macdonald to put into perspective exactly how profitable Tom's career has been. On YouTube alone, Tom Macdonald has over 771 million views. Now, YouTube will pay Tom every time his video is played, and they add this up by the thousand. On YouTube, this is called a mil. The average rate of pay on a YouTube music channel is about $5 per mil, and that's the amount the creator would make per 1,000 views. So, to find out a rough estimate of how much money Tom has made on YouTube alone, we would need to take 771 million and divide it by 1,000, which is 771,000. You would then take this number and times it by the $5 he makes per thousand, giving you a total of $3,875,000 roughly that Tom has made on YouTube alone. That's not including what he makes from the other streaming services, tours, and physical CDs. All of this becomes more impressive coupled with the fact that Tom is 100% independent and owns all the rights to all of his music. So that's all his money. There is no label involved. The average salary in America is $53,383. If Tom took every YouTube dollar and put it into a dividend-paying index fund on the stock market that paid out only a 2% dividend, he could live the rest of his life making $77,500 every single year and never touch the original $3.8 million, meaning he could live with the wage above the average American and never work another day for the rest of his life. Tom Macdonald is a Canadian turned American rapper who grew up with all the support he could ever need. As a child, he was nurtured and his dreams never felt far away. As a teenager, Tom would see himself fall headfirst into the world of wrestling, but that dream would fall apart. So Tom would turn his eyes towards music and try his hand at making rock, but that also fell apart. But Tom was resilient. As an adult, Tom would find himself suffering from a mental health issue that plagued him and allowed bad decisions to bring him all the way down to rock bottom. Tom looked around at the world around him and felt the need to give his input, and that decision would ultimately change his life. Tom applied himself and was able to turn a bad situation into a fortune. Whether or not you agree with Tom Macdonald's message or disagree, one thing is for sure. He is a force to be reckoned with in the world of hip-hop, and he holds a massive amount of influence over his fans. Not everybody will like the delivery of the message or the perspective offered. And many have said that what Tom Macdonald talks about is offensive, and it's because he hasn't experienced it from any other perspective. And while that may be true, if there is any point of view that he can offer that should still be valid, it's his own. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, but remember that people's opinions will change over time. We evolve as humans. You may not agree with the message today, but you might tomorrow. And Tom may not agree with the world today, but he might tomorrow. In the end, Tom has had a phenomenal career that any rapper would dream of having and has made enough money to retire for the rest of his life. He could stop now and go kick it on a beach somewhere and just chill, but I don't think Tom Macdonald has hit the end of the road. Over the last few years, he has been perfecting his craft from the topics to the melodies to the beats and the message. If he keeps going, the only way to maintain the attention will be to evolve it and re-perfect it again and again and again. Even if you don't like Tom Macdonald, it will be hard to avoid him as long as he knows how to continue to provoke emotions in people. I think that as long as politics exists, Tom Macdonald will exist. And if it's not Tom Macdonald, it'll be another rapper just like Tom Macdonald. But right now, Tom is having his moment in the spotlight. And as time goes on, the content will either work for or against him. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload. Leave me a comment down below. What do you think about Tom Macdonald? Do you like Tom Macdonald? Do you hate Tom Macdonald? Do you think that Tom Macdonald has staying power, or do you think he's a flash in the pan? I would love to hear y'all's opinions. Anyways, it was fun rocking with y'all, man. I'm out.